All right, the purpose of this video is to show you some of the new changes that are coming through with Google Tag Manager. You probably already have these in your account. If not, they are on the way and will be there probably within the next few days. So let me go ahead and introduce you to the very biggest one that you'll notice right away, which is this thing called Workspace. Here it used to say container, now it's Workspace. So there are still containers. So I'm going to click through here and you can see you still have containers, just like we have our Serious and Simple Marketing container, and these are all the different containers we've been playing around with. But in the container, there is now a workspace. This is very similar to what analytics does with properties and then views of the properties. So kind of think about it like that now. Now, when you come into your workspace, you will notice there's a default workspace that's shown here. And when you click on that, you will notice you have two workspaces you can play with. So I have on the line with me, Darwin. Say hello, Darwin.
Hi everyone.
He didn't know he didn't know he was going to be called out. That was muted in the background. So I've got Darwin here, and we're going to show you the kind of the beauty of workspaces. And this is really there, which a lot of, I know clients have asked us before, like, how do I keep conflicts from happening when so many people are in these containers and we've got vendors in the containers and everything else? And workspaces, I think, is a pretty good addition. That's going to handle a lot of that. So what I would suggest best practices could be is you could come in here, and I'm going to do this while Darwin's doing this on his end. So we're both in our Google Tag Manager container. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a workspace. I'm just going to call this Mercer's Workspace. And then, we could put a little description, Mercer's test, whatever. And I'm going to go ahead and save this. And now I'm in Mercer's Workspace. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and you can see Mercer's Workspace. And Darwin, go ahead and create yours and let me know when you've got that. And then I want to show everybody kind of that you will see other people's workspace as well. Now, you might do this by person. If your company allows it, or it makes more sense, you might do it by department, maybe even. But we're going to come through here. And for now, once you get that workspace created, Darwin, just let me know.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to click through here. Now you can see default and Mercer's Workspace. So what will happen, and I'm going to try to time this out as I walk through some of these other features here. Kind of keep an eye down here on that lower left-hand corner, because what will happen is my Google Tag Manager setup here recognizes eventually that that Darwin has created his own workspace, and it's going to want to let me know that. So, and we've seen that trigger before, and I'm not sure exactly what triggers that. So I'm gonna continue on. Actually, I think this is probably the best way to do this. I'm going to continue on like I didn't know that he just did that. So now I'm going to go in, and I'm going to go ahead and do a new tag. Now, very important, another big change you'll notice right away is tags are also different. They have tag configuration, and there's a triggering section. So this is basically the same thing as before, except that instead of one sort of long tag that also sort of contained a trigger and had the different steps, now you've got them separate. Because there really are two main parts, the tags and the triggers. So we're going to click on the tag configuration, and you'll notice these also change, but pretty much the same. So we're going to do, for this test, I'm just going to do a custom HTML tag, and I'm just going to say testing. And I'm going to go ahead and save that tag without a trigger. Now, if I wanted to add a trigger, you'll notice that all of our triggers are in here. If I wanted to add a new trigger, now you would do that through this plus sign up here. And then you can do your trigger configurations. So that's how that whole thing works. So kind of getting used to this interface. It hasn't been really that long for us either playing with this, and it's pretty intuitive. So I like that. But I'm gonna set up this tag without a trigger, and Darwin is gonna do the exact same thing. So he's also going to set up a tag, just a custom HTML tag that doesn't do anything, just so we can show the concept. And it's going to give me little things that says, hey, you know what, you didn't set a trigger. That's cool. I know that. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Save Tag. And let's just call this Mercer's Test Tag. And we're going to save that. Okay, so now I've got a workplace change. We used to say, unpublished changes. Now it says workspace changes. There's one workspace change. And I can go ahead and publish that. And for now, let me go back to overview here and just see if I get any notice. And so for now, I don't see any reason to not publish that. So I'm going to go ahead and publish. Now, this is also kind of cool. This has come through, and you can do a little bit better of a job of naming your versions, because that was kind of hard. It was a great feature in versions to be able to name them and put some descriptions as far as what they were. And when you do workspaces, you sort of automatically do that because you can see the name of Mercer's Workspace and then Mercer's Test. So I could have called this setting up cross-domain tracking tag or adjusting Facebook pixel for new product conversion, whatever. But in here, if I need to switch that, I can. So now I can say, testing HTML conflict. Technically won't be a conflict, it'll be just a tag here. So I'm going to do that. And then here is also what I really like. When you click on this little icon here, you see where it says abandon change or view change, because it gives you the specific change that was added and by who added it. So I'm gonna go ahead to view change here. And this shows you a before and after. So in the version that's currently live, this tag does not exist. In the new version, this tag will exist. Of course, has no firing trigger, so it's not gonna affect our site. So I'm good with that, and it's unfiled, so I'm like, okay, cool. I can either delete the tag or I can publish it. So I don't wanna delete the tag, I wanna keep this change. So I'm gonna go ahead and publish now. Oh, one other thing, activity history. So this shows exactly, I created the workspace by email. This is great because now you've got this breadcrumb trail when you're trying to figure out who did what in Google Tag Manager. If you click on activity history, it will tell you that. And we'll show you that in just a second here. So I'm gonna go ahead and click out of that. I'm gonna go ahead and hit publish. And now I've got the Mercer's Workspace version published. Now I'm in versions, and this is what the versions look like. So in fact, I'm gonna go ahead and click on this one so you can see. So now I've got the latest. You can see the different tests that Darwin and I have been playing with. When I come through here, when I click on here, I come into the details of the version, and then in activity history, I can see the very specific steps. I created this tag, and I was the one who published it. Whereas before, you really couldn't see a ton of details around that. Now it's a lot easier to debug and figure out who did what in your workspace. I should start calling my workspace now. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump back into my workspace. Now, one very important thing, you will now notice Mercer's Workspace is gone. The reason it's gone is because it's been published. So in order, and this is normal, so in order for me to do another workspace, I would have to create a new workspace. And you can only have 3 workspaces, and you already have a default by default. So you can only really have 2 additional workspaces. So Darwin's created one, and of course I created one. Now that I've published one of those workspaces, I can create another one if I wanted to. And I am going to go ahead and do that. And then, let's see, Darwin, actually, before I do that, can you publish yours?
Mm-hmm.
And again, you see here it says no workspace selected because it's trying to put me in my old workspace, which of course doesn't exist because I published it. So I'm gonna have to create another one. And then I'm going to go ahead, now that he's publishing that, I'm gonna come in here and let's see, this is the Mercer test number 2. This is test number 2. I'm gonna go ahead and save that. Okay, so now I've got this. You can see it's pulled from version 238, which is the one that I just did. Now keep in mind, Darwin is publishing his in the background. So there should be a bit of a conflict. Not for him, I don't believe. And Darwin, let me know if it does show for you as a conflict. Because it might, because I published my tag while you were kind of working on your workplace, and it was grabbing a copy of what it knew was the most recent version of the truth. Then I published a new one. So now Darwin's about to basically overwrite my changes, I think, if we've timed this right. And when Darwin updates, the way he's going to know that, and then I'll show you kind of what it looks like. So you're looking at my screen right now, of course. What he should be seeing is a bar that sort of says something like, hey, this workplace has been adjusted since you last saw it and you've made these changes, so we're going to go ahead and update this for you. And what it does during that process is if there's a conflict in the tag that you created, then it will tell you. And so I'll show you that in a second once we have confirmed. So far I see that now Darwin does not have a workspace, so you can confirm you've published that, Darwin?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go into tags here, and I'm just going to see what the tags were. So there's a test tag. So this is automatically pulled, Darwin's test tag, which he just published, and then my test tag. Okay, so we're both about the same. That's where I pulled the version from. So now we've got these 2 different test tags set up. Darwin, can you go in to just the default workspace for now and go ahead and delete out your test tag?
Okay.
And there's 2 places we've seen it update. One is here. So when the the workspace is changed, you see a little notice here. Full warning though, it's in white letters and also blue, so it blends right in. So that's not the easiest place to see it, but it does show there. And let me know, Darwin, when you've got that completely published with it removed. And so you can see it's automatically pulled now. It's 239. That was Darwin's version. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to adjust Darwin's test tag, which remember he just deleted. And I'm going to save it. So at this point, I've got a little error that says not found. That's interesting. So let's see. So but there's my test tag. Okay, so there's already some sort of conflict that's going on. Darwin's thing is gone. His workspace is gone. And then he's gone in and you've published in the default, right, Darwin? So make sure.
Not yet. I'm just deleting my test tag.
Okay, perfect. This is also interesting because the workspaces show different versions. So this is 239. I can come in here. I go here. And you can see those other tags are gone. But if I come into my workspace, which is not yet published, you can see that we've got those two different test tags. So I'm going to go ahead and publish now, Darwin, while you're in there.
I just published my, the default workspace with the deleted Darwin's test tag.
Perfect. So now that should not exist. Perfect. This is what we wanted to trigger. Okay. So Darwin and I are both working, and this is like a real life situation that we're just trying to trigger and fake here. But here's what's happened. He's been working on one tag, and I've been working on the same tag, and we both did two different things to the tag. So now there's this check that automatically happens because of these workplaces that are involved. When I go to publish, Google Tag Manager said, okay, wait a second, there's a workspace conflict. Like he was in one that you didn't see, so you both weren't working in kind of the same workspace, and so you forked it, right? There's two different changes now, so it's forked. So there's a conflict. So what you do is you click on resolve, and it will tell you what the conflict is. So it says, okay, hey, since you last saw it, which remember we were on version 238 and then 239, now there's a version 240. And that was the one that Darwin just published. So in this version, this tag is deleted. This Darwin's test tag doesn't exist. So I have it in my version. And so what I need to do is make a decision here where I say, ooh, okay, wait a second. I need to restore that tag because I do want it. Or I can delete the tag and match the current version. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and restore it. And then let's see if we can make this work. Or we're going to get a total Google Tag Manager bug, which is also entirely possible. Let's see if this works. I'm going to publish. We may have really flipped out Google Tag Manager. Let's find out. Okay, no, so that just tested. Okay, so there we go. Darwin's test tag. I think what it was it was just thinking too fast. So with any luck, now see this? This is the little notice I was talking about. New container version is available. So I'm on version 241. I'm going to go ahead and update the workspace. So 241, I'm going to have to update. And if you try to publish when updates have already happened, it will tell you, hey, I'm going to force update you. So it does a really good job of trying to kind of keep these conflicts down. Whereas before, if Darwin had made a change just then, I would have just overwrote his change. It wouldn't even ask me, it just would have done it. Now it's going to say, hey, there's a conflict here between the two different versions. Are you sure you want to make this move? So I'm going to click here. We should see these two different tags. And on this one, it should say Darwin's test is back because he had deleted it, but I brought it back and then published the tag. So that's totally worked. Darwin, can you go ahead and delete out your tag again? And then publish. So I'm going to stay in the default workspace. And right now you can see there's no other workspaces created because he was just working in the default workspace before. And in my workspace, I published it. And I'm going to show you where that was again. If I go to versions, there was the Mercer 2 workspace. And if I wanted to see exactly what happened, I could say, okay, let's go to activity history. And I can see I changed the tag and published it. And Darwin would be able to see that too if he's like, hey, what is this tag doing here? I thought I got rid of it. And I can go here. This is where he deleted his test tag. And I can figure out, okay, what's going on? Maybe he put notes, but here he changed the tag, then he reverted it back, or sorry, I reverted it back. I changed and reverted it. Then he synced the workspace, then he deleted his tag, then he published it. You can see exactly who did what, which is really cool.
So I just deleted the tag. Should I publish it?
Let's go ahead and publish it. Okay. So now we're on 241, which is the one that I see. He's about to publish 242 now. And it shows that there's one deleted, which I kind of like because this is where it's showing, I didn't necessarily do this, just there's a workspace change here, right? So somebody's in this workspace because there's nobody else here. So there's no other workspace there. So I know that there was a change that was made here. And so if I click on tags, let's see how often this refreshes itself. So that one's already gone, which is great. And now it says workplace changes 0. So in the background, Darwin's been updating. And so now you see it doesn't show that there's one deleted. This, I think, is the reason why you don't stay in one workplace, because the only way for me to really know what just happened is if I click on versions, I would go to Darwin deleted tag again because he named it like that, all right? So the version summary, he named it. And I can click on here, here in activity history, and I can see I synced the workspace, then he deleted the tag, and then he published the tag. So you can see who did what, but it didn't stop anybody. Now we're on 242. So as I'm clicking around, which I also think is good, Google Tag Manager is constantly sort of updating itself now, where it didn't do that as well, I don't think, last time. So this is good. I'm going to do one other quick thing and just get rid of my last tag. So we're going to go ahead and delete this. And then we will finally publish. I'm going to go ahead and publish that. And we'll go ahead and, I need notes or whatever, but I really like this. This, I think, is huge because we've asked clients a lot to do this, and we ourselves mean to do this, but sometimes it just wasn't in the flow. You had to go to a completely different part of Tag Manager, remember to do that. And here, it's kind of asking you to do that whenever you publish, which is just fantastic. So when you create your workspace, name it, put a little description there as to what you're trying to do, because it helps you later, and it will help other people if they're trying to also help you debug. And then again, we've got each individual thing. I deleted the tag, then I'm the one that published it. And if you saw how there's multiple emails in there. So if I had deleted the tag, saved it, and then just left and Darwin published later, it would show that I deleted it, but then Darwin published it, which is, again, fantastic because you finally got breadcrumbs. Real quick, let's talk about triggers. So I'm gonna go into new tag and just show you, again, triggers. If you want to add them, you got all your different triggers. You click on new, and here's all the different triggers. You're going to see the same sort of thing. Now, a couple things I like about this. One is it puts the type of trigger, which is fantastic. I think this is really cool because you're like, oh, okay, here's the type of trigger I'm looking for. And then you can select it. And then it works kind of just like what you would normally be used to setting up. But variables also work the same way. So we're going to go to new variable. The difference is you used to have those charts. You would have to click on the checkboxes. Well, that's what this is now. This configure section is all of the built-ins. So you see these are the built-in ones that we have automatically tracking. So that's where you would do the new built-in triggers. And then your other ones are still below when you scroll. Only now when you click on the little block, you see the different types of variables and kind of what they do, right? So these are navigation variables, here's page variables, page elements, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and then at that point, again, you'll see the same sort of type that you were looking for before. So in fact, I think, let me just make sure that's a good one. If we happen to choose that, okay, yeah, there we go, URLs I'm looking for. These are our URL query variables we use for e-commerce. So those are all still there. So everything's basically named the same, just in a slightly different space, and the UI is a little bit different. And again, workspace, very, very important feature. Now, one last thing, which I think is just massive, search. So now I can look for my page view tag, and I can see everything that says page view without having to scroll up and down. This has always been a big issue with tags, especially when you have hundreds of them, which I know many of you do. So now you can just, if you know kind of what it was like, you can say, okay, what was it, Facebook? Or, okay, wait, I remember it was a pixel, but I'm not sure which one. Oh, okay, because we call things FB, right? And you can go through and you can pull out all the different stuff that you were looking for just with a quick little search. Again, massive change. There hasn't been any changes to folders as far as I can tell. So that's sort of, they operate the same way. But everything else has changed. Notifications are a lot better. Workspace changes are awesome. Activity history is awesome. The conflict resolution is fantastic. And you can see, like, even us trying to really trick this thing up, it did kind of do that not found error a little bit, but a quick little refresh and it caught itself back up. So maybe it's maybe a couple seconds delayed here or there, but it knows it. It knows something's off, and it keeps you from making a bad move. So I'm kind of liking the changes so far, and wanted to make sure that all of you knew that these changes were out there. So with that, I'll go ahead and leave this to you to play with. Create a new workspace, create maybe a new container to practice with if you want to. just to kind of, I mean, have people try to break it. And a really great way is to do what we did with a custom HTML, put in something there because it doesn't matter, and don't put a trigger. And as long as you don't put a trigger, it's not going to affect your site. And it's just an inert tag that really doesn't have any power. But at least you can play around with publishing and versioning and how you're going to name stuff and who's going to do what, and just making sure that people are better breadcrumbing their containers. So I think this is a huge change and very useful, hopefully, for everybody who is out there. And of course, we're here. If you have any questions, just let us know. Thanks again for watching all this, and we will talk to you soon. Take care.